Welcome to episode 9 of Smart Farming Times online show, where we discuss topical issues within the agricultural sector in Botswana, especially modern farming practices and how they help address modern day farming challenges. I'm Oten Tlotla. The Kalahari Red Goat is a breed with a global footprint, including in countries such as Brazil, Thailand, Australia and South Africa, among others. In Botswana, it is fast becoming a breed to be reckoned with as it continues to gain popularity and clinch prestigious prizes at Agric Shows. In this episode, we talk to one of the most successful Kalahari Red breeders in Botswana, Faheem of Bushra in Gakuto, about his experience, achievements, and the future of the breed in the country. Remember to follow Smart Farming Times across all social media platforms.
My name is Faheem of Bushra. I'm the founder and director of the farming operation that is now based in Gakuto. We're just over 10 years old. We started farming in the Southeast District, just near Botswana, in 2012 with Kalahari Reds initially. And then we moved to Gakuto here in 2017 to a bigger farming operation, a bit more space, and it allowed us to actually hold more goats as well. A question I've actually been asked quite frequently, and to be honest with you, it was a mistake. I don't even know how else to put it. I acquired a small farm that was just under 3 hectares along the Taung River at that stage in 2012. And the guy who sold me the farm also had some Tswana goats and sheep, which I bought as a package. I went to a farmer's day a few months afterwards, Poshadi Ranch, just after joining along towards Sekuma. There was a breeder from South Africa that came to display some of his animals there, including the Kalahari Red breed. I didn't know what the breed was. I didn't even know the name Kalahari Red, but I saw this very muscular, very shiny, attractive goat, a poko. It was a buck. And I made an inquiry about it. He spoke to me a bit about it, and he was one of the founder breeders by the name of Albihon. And I just made a decision on the spot there that I'd like to purchase that buck and put it onto my Tswana females. I didn't even have the money at that stage, but the gentleman, through a reference of a different farmer, agreed to allow me to load the buck and transfer the money to him on Monday when I was back in Gaborone. And lo and behold, that's how we started. It is after I purchased my first Kalahari buck that I actually go and Google and research more about the breed. And that's when I learned about the qualities of the breed and the benefits of farming with it. Look, it's a very, very tough breed. The Kalahari Red breed is a relatively new breed in the industry. It was registered officially as a breed in 1999 in South Africa, derived out of the Boer goat as well as indigenous goats, depending on which bloodlines you're going back on. The Kalahari Red's breed's color is one of its strong advantages. It never has a pigmentation problem. It's able to graze out in the hot sun for longer periods of time, which obviously aids in increased feed intake, which means more meat, more muscling, and obviously increased milk on the females as well. It's a very drought resistant, very adaptive animal. And I say adaptive, today as we stand here, we've got Kalahari Reds in every single district in Botswana. And it's actually thriving all through the southern African area as well, including Angola, which has an annual rainfall of over 1,000 millimeters, compared to where we farm here in Gakuto with an annual average of just over 300. So your Kalahari Red can do well in extremely wetter regions, in dry regions, in the heat of summer, and in the very cold areas in winter. The name Kalahari actually derives from the Kalahari Desert, and the red comes from its coloration. So temperatures in the desert can hit 45 degrees plus in summer and go into the minuses in winter, and the Kalahari Red actually performs in both those extremes. The Kalahari Red breed is an extremely fertile animal. You often find multiporous births. You often find that it'll give you twins, triplets, and or more. Look, it can be challenging, but as breeders and as stud breeders, we actually try and select the animals to give multiple births. We want them to give twins, ideally, triplets if possible. 4 and 5 is very rare, and it is also very challenging for 2 reasons. Obviously, one, those lambs, those kids are born a little bit smaller, and remember, the mother only has 2 teats to feed at that particular time, so it puts a lot of strain on the mother. So your ideal scenario is to have twins and maybe, if you are lucky, triplets. But record keeping with regards to the fertility and productivity of your animals is absolutely ideal. It is crucial that you do that and implement that at the start of your farming operation, because that basically allows you to make informed decisions based on numbers. Sometimes you have an animal that looks very good, but she doesn't produce very well. That is not an animal you want to breed forward with. Genetics means a lot, and I'm very particular on Bushra Stud to ensure that we choose absolute prime genetics that are performance driven. So we want our animals to be giving birth to twins. We want those mothers to raise those offspring herself. We want that mother to produce a lot of milk that is more than sufficient for her own offspring. So we don't have to interfere in the raising of the mothers where we have to now give additional milk or additional supplementation. I'm a very firm believer in looking after the mother ewe, the mother female, and she must then look after her young. That is what we're trying to achieve moving forward. And if you can establish a herd that has those qualities, we know that when we sell off to others, they're going to perform as well, and they will also see the results of their investment. You see, when you start a goat farming operation or a breeding project, you need to understand from the very onset that is an investment. And it's an investment that's going to pay you back your returns, whilst you have to first put in that investment. The investment is not just the purchase of the animal. More importantly, after you have purchased the animal, is to actually look after it. So your nutrition, your management of parasites, your deworming is all part of the entire farming operation that's going to lead to the success of your farming project. So once you have your animal and you've got a good quality animal, you need to make sure you feed it. Nutrition, they say, is half of breeding, and I can't stress that enough. We live in a relatively semi-drought region. I mean, recently you have seen that the government has also declared drought and given a subsidy on feed. That is simply because we have challenges on grazing and browsing opportunities in most areas of the country. Now, if they don't eat well, they're not going to perform well. It's the same like a human or a trainer, if I can use an athlete for an example. For you to get the optimum performance and the optimum results, you need to eat well and then perform. So your animals, when you purchase them, whether it's your females, whether it's your males, they need to eat a balanced ration on a daily basis. They need to have the correct intake of feed. You need to ensure that you supplement them at least every 3 months with the correct vitamins and minerals. And you need to ensure you deworm them and manage your parasites correctly. We farm here in a hard water area, so obviously ticks are a challenge. And as much as I say we've had challenges with drought, remember last year we had over 750 millimeters of rain on the farm. But that rain did not come consistently. We had a very, very wet February, which gave us new challenges in terms of parasites, in terms of both worms as well as ticks. That needs to be managed for your animal to then perform. If your animal is comfortable, if your goats are in a healthy state and in a healthy environment, they're going to perform much better, and that will help them give you the twins and triplets that you're looking for. Look, to be honest with you, by the grace of God, my best achievement I can say from 10 years or almost 11 years ago is the fact that I'm still farming. That in itself, I think, is an achievement that we sometimes underestimate. Farming comes with a hell of a lot of challenges. There's a lot of people that come into it and realize that you don't either make money, or you're not managing properly, or you have debts and you end up leaving the industry. But we started 2012. 2014 was the first year we opted to decide to go to the Gaborone National Show at Sibili Showgrounds. The main purpose was just to market, to try and get a better understanding and to get our name out there that we've got some goats. People don't always know you are farming with goats. It's a little bit easier now in terms of social media and the exposure that it reaches. But back in the day, you would try and go to the shows to try and market yourself and show your product. People laughed at me. 2014, I had a lot of culls on the show, and it was you would think a disaster, but I used it as a motivation to say, okay, these are what I need to correct on my animals. We went back every year since then. We've been showing in the Gaborone Show. 2016 is the first year we obtained the National Grand Champion of the Yard, and it was a Kalahari Red Goat. So that was a very satisfying feeling. By the grace of God, we came back in 2017 with a locally bred animal and achieved that same feat. 2018, 2019 as well. Every year since, by the grace of the Almighty, we have won the Grand Champion of the Yard at all the shows that we have entered. But one of the absolute highlights that I could personally see that gave me a lot of inner satisfaction. 2019, we went to go and show in South Africa under the Central Binalanda Boerboer Club. They were hosting a show with all the South African breeders, and we managed to make arrangements through our veterinary services to take our animals to go and show in South Africa, locally bred animals, Kalahari Red specifically, but also some of our Boer goats. And we came away with all the champions, including the Grand Champion Buck and the Grand Champion Doe, against South African breeders. And I think that meant a lot. It was a big learning curve, the fact that the atmosphere was so fantastic with the breeders. But to come away with those results against established breeders that have been in the industry for such a long time really, really meant a lot. And like I said, we started in 2012. I'm just going to go back a little bit more with the Kalahari Red breed. So my passion for the Kalahari Red specifically is astronomical. I have a very, very soft spot for the breed. I love it a lot, and I joined the Kalahari Red board in South Africa a year later. So since 2013, I've always been working closely with this breed, trying to market it. Our 2016 victory was with the Kalahari Red, and so was 2017 as well, and 2018. But then came a domination of the Boer goats again. The Boer goats have been in the country for a very long time. It's a very old breed. It's the oldest of the meat breeds, if I can say that. And as far back as you can remember, even prior to me being born, there were always white goats with the red heads all over Botswana. Khansi especially was a very big farming community. I mean, it's basically a farming town, and the Boer goat has always dominated the goat industry the same way the Dorper has always dominated the sheep. The Khansi show this year was the 49th show, or the 49th edition of the Khansi show that has taken place. And ever since the show's inception up till present, until this year, there has never ever been a Kalahari Red that has won the Grand Champion of the Yard award. That is the most prestigious award you win at the show. This year was the first time that took place. And just to put into perspective, both Letlhakane, the Voslach show, and Khansi show, the Boer goats and the Kalahari Reds and the Savannas all show together. They aren't separate classes where they then only join the championship level. They all show together from the very milk-tooth class. So the Kalahari Red has actually shown its progression throughout all those breeds and overwhelmed and defeated all the other Boer goats and Savannas that were on show to achieve that award. And it really meant a lot, and I think it's a fantastic marketing for the Kalahari Red breed, and it is definitely a step in the right direction. All the breeds of goat, in terms of the Boer, the Kalahari and the Savannah, are all exceptional breeds. Botswana is dominant by the Boer goat and the Kalahari Red as well. There's very few Savannah breeders, and a lot of people have the mindset that, okay, the Boer is always going to be better. The Kalahari Red breed is a fantastic breed. I always tell people when they ask me which is better, I say choose the breed that you like. They are both exceptional breeds with exceptional qualities. But if you go into your kraal and you like the animal that you see and you like it in red, you're going to end up wanting to farm a bit better with it. You're going to have a passion to make sure you want to succeed. The same way somebody goes and wants to buy a car. He has a choice of buying a Land Cruiser in white or buying it in khaki. If you like khaki, go for it. If you like white, go for it. Because it's your passion. But the fact that the Kalahari Red breed is holding its own against Boer goats, automatically is going to tell people, you know what, this is a breed to also be reckoned with. This is a breed worth investing in. And naturally, your Kalahari demand is going to be high. The demand is already exceptional in Botswana because people have realized the way we farm in Botswana, we are not, most of the farmers that have goats are not full-time farmers. We don't always live on the farm. You need an animal that's going to fend for itself under difficult conditions and give you the results. And the Kalahari Red breed is showing that in the show ring, it's showing that with auction prices, it's shown that with its demand and the results of farming with it on a part-time level as well. We started our Boer goats in 2017. I actually went to South Africa with a group of local farmers, cattle farmers, to Lucas Burger's production auction in Kimberley, and that's how we started our Boer goats. So initially, when I started farming in 2012, and the first time I started showing in 2014, there were farmers coming to the show. But the market and the population of quality goats in the country was nowhere near what it is today. Today there are many breeders all throughout the country who have got good quality Boer goats and good quality Kalahari Reds. 10 years ago it wasn't the case, it was just a handful. So I want to say it was maybe a little bit easier for the Red to win over the Boers in those days, if I can use that word without demeaning the quality of the Kalahari Reds. But in today's day and age, what has happened is breeding has progressed, genetics have evolved. So while implementing a strategy on the farm to say, okay, this is the picture of what we want to achieve on our goats, we are now trying to breed very feminine females that carry meat. Now you want that capacity balance with femininity. It's a challenge to reach it. But if you have the picture of what you want to achieve and then you put the correct bucks onto the correct females, you hopefully are moving in that right direction. So it's not just a thing in Botswana. Just last week at the Botswana Club show in South Africa, they have what is called the inter-race, the interbreed class, where the Kalahari challenges the Boer for the champion. And the Kalahari Red won that as well. So what has happened over the last 10 years is an evolving of genetics to improve the Kalahari Red from where it was to what it is now. And that will continue to progress, because as times go on, people are very selective with their genetics and with their breeding, trying to achieve what the market demands, what is functional, and what sells. So we are also part of the process to try and see the picture we want to get to and how we're going to try and breed towards that. It's always a learning curve. You never ever reach a stage where you say, I've achieved now and that's it. Because the minute you have that in your mind and in your heart, you might as well give up for me. Breeding is such that every year and every breeding season you're going to try and improve, or you're going to try and get something better from what you had previously. I have this motivational drive within me. It's just within my personal character that I want to outdo myself. I want to beat myself. So where I was last year, I must do better than what I did, and this year I must now achieve more than what I've done there. And I say this in terms of breeding. I emphasized earlier the importance of record keeping. And record keeping also now comes into play with regards to your bloodlines and your breeding regime. We are trying to see how many different bloodlines we have with, and we breed with several different bloodlines on the farm. This allows us to actually utilize our rams much more effectively and much more efficiently, and for a longer space of time, without having to regularly introduce new bloodlines or new bucks to come from outside. The South African borders are closed. That is where the majority of the Kalahari Red genetics are available, and we don't have access to them. So for us to ensure that we try and keep our stud and our breeding moving forward, we have to make sure we select our own breeding bucks out of our own lines correctly and move forward. And you know what? Mistakes happen. You may match the wrong buck to the wrong ewe and not get the quality that you want. But what happens? That female is still going to breed for you next season. Change the buck, change the female. It's all about trial and error and learning from your own mistakes. And it happens. I mean, it's not that every single female is going to give you the show quality stud animal that you want. We have animals that breed flock animals. We have animals that occasionally also give you animals that are culled and they need to be slaughtered. But you learn from them and you see that genetic pairing and you say, okay, this is not giving me what I want. Let's change the picture and try something differently. And at the same time, when you see a female being successful on a certain bloodline with a particular buck, you try and maximize those genetics. And then you try and get more breeding bucks out of it. So we've done the same with our reds as we've done with our Boer goats. We've tried to maintain several different bloodlines so we can try and hopefully move our breeding forward. And it works. I mean, at the same time, a farmer comes to us and wants to buy a male and maybe 5 or 10 females. We can give him options to buy from different bloodlines so that his genetics are now not too close. One of the biggest surprises that has taken me aback over the last decade is how fast the Botswana industry has grown. Grown in terms of quality of animals, grown in terms of quality of the Kalahari Reds, and the number of Kalahari Red breeders that are in the country. We've got breeders in Francistown, in Khanzi, in Maung as well, even though it's a red zone. But the breed was previously not there, and now it's there and it's doing well. The South African industry is something that, look, honestly speaking, we have to benchmark upon. They have got, as I stand here today, 88 registered stud breeders belonging to the SA Kalahari Red Club. They have got a lot bigger population, a lot more breeders, and they've got a wider genetic pool than we have in Botswana. Botswana is still a budding industry, we are still growing, but we are really heading in the right direction because every year since I've started farming, we've only moved forward. And I'm not just saying we as in Bushra, I'm saying we as in Botswana's industry, which is very, very positive. Where we were 5 or 6 years ago is where Zimbabwe is now, who is our neighboring country in the region. Namibia initially had interest in reds and then it diminished quite a bit, and now because of the Botswana market as well as the interest in Namibia, the red industry is slowly picking up there as well. We may be behind South Africa, which we are behind South Africa in terms of the entire industry of the Kalahari Reds, but we are headed in the right direction and we are going to slowly catch up as long as we keep doing what we're doing as an industry in the country. Keep pushing, that's important. Keep doing what we are doing and try and improve moving forward. The industry is growing exponentially. We are getting a lot of serious breeders now coming into the industry as well. We are grouping up with a few other farmers all throughout the country. We are creating production auctions. The very next one of ours is just a month away on the 2nd of September, called the Platinum Genetics Auction. 6 breeders from across the country with really high quality Boer goats and Kalahari Reds coming on board. And the way I see the Botswana industry evolving and moving forward, more of these platforms are going to be created. And the more platforms are created, the more breeders are going to be successful. I said this earlier off record, I'm saying it on record. For us to be a success, our customers, our clients, and the entire industry has to also be successful so we can grow together. That is the only way we're going to support one another and move forward in Botswana.